So the most common question I've been getting a lot lately, other than inquiries about the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is, be 100% honest with you guys, not something I think about at all until I started getting on TikTok and I realized how popular that song was and how everybody still thinks about the Edmund Fitzgerald all the time. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't respect what happened there, and I understand the dangers of sailing out here. It's just not really something we think about a lot. The song made it very popular, but there are thousands of shipwrecks out here, and it's tragic, but ships still sink. It's just one of the hazards of working out here. We do everything we can to avoid that kind of stuff now, especially the weather. We keep a really close eye on weather and know how to avoid it. And luckily out here on the Great Lakes, we're lucky enough that we can avoid it. So we either find like a safe harbor to anchor in, we either stay at the dock that we're at, or we go around it. If we have a northeast wind or northwest wind blowing across Lake Superior, we'll take the Canadian coastline up so the waves will be smaller up there. So we do what we can to avoid that kind of stuff. And with modern weather equipment, we're a lot more knowledgeable of upcoming weather systems and things like that than they were back then. So it's a little safer nowadays, I would say. But to get to the topic of how do you get to work out here, there's a couple ways you can do it. I went to a maritime academy where a lot of officers get their start these days. It's like a 4-year university, basically, or 4-year college. You got a bachelor's degree out of it. The Great Lakes Maritime Academy, where I went, I got a second bachelor's degree because I already had one. And I got my third mate unlimited tonnage license, which allows me to sail on pretty much any ship in the world. Mostly American flag, but I haven't looked into this, but I believe American licenses are recognized by other countries. So we don't have to take other tests and stuff like that to work for foreign flag ships if you wanted to. Also on the Great Lakes Maritime Academy, I get my first class Great Lakes pilotage, which is required to sail as a mate on the Great Lakes. And if you're watching this YouTube channel, I've got a video up already here of how to get your pilotage and what we have to go through to get that. So yeah, check that video out. It's got a pretty elementary version of a lot of stuff, but since I can only do a minute on TikTok, I like to explain things a little bit more in depth here on YouTube. So that's how you become an officer. There's maritime academies across the country. You've got Texas A&M has a maritime academy. State University of New York, SUNY, has a maritime academy. Boston or Massachusetts has a maritime academy. Maine has a maritime academy. You've got Kings Point, which is the National Maritime Academy, which is kind of like one of the military academies, kind of like the naval, like Annapolis or West Point or the Air Force Academy. It's the same. It's a federally funded school. Then you've got one out in California, Cal Maritime, which is I think in Vallejo, so it's on the bay. All schools you can get your licenses from. You can't get your pilotage from those schools to work on the Great Lakes. Those only allow you to work on the oceans. Whereas Great Lakes, we have our choice. We can work Great Lakes or oceans. I prefer the Great Lakes. I like the lifestyle. I like being close to home. And I don't know, the lakes we have our own culture out here. I kind of dig it. For the unlicensed guys, for our crews, so there's a lot of different options you can go here. You have to have a merchant mariner credential is the be all end all. You have to have one of those. You can apply for that on the Coast Guard's website. Then you have to also have a TWIC card, which is issued by TSA. That's the guy, the airport guys. Yeah, so TSA does that. So you have to have a TWIC card and a merchant mariner credential. From there, you can get started. There's several unions you can join. You have Seafarers International Union, which is what the crew on this ship is. You have Sailors Union of the Pacific. You have Marine Firefighters of the World. You've got the Steelworkers Union, Local 5000. There's several different labor unions you can join. There's also a lot of companies that don't have union labor, and you just work directly through the company. And I don't really have a comprehensive list of what those companies are. I know a lot of the lakes companies use unions, mostly the Steelworkers and SIU, Sailors International Union. That would be how you would go about doing that. Some of them you can just join straight up. You have to pay your union dues, and they find you a job, kind of like a hiring service. With SIU, if you choose, you can go through their school program, which I think takes about 10 months to a year. I think you have to do. It's kind of like a mini maritime academy where they train you on the basics, run you kind of through like a little militaristic style, and you do internships aboard working vessels where you work in the galley department, you work in the engine department, you work on deck for 30 days at a time each. So you get kind of an idea of what you want to do. And then through the union, you can upgrade, work your way up through the ranks if you want to. You start out as what we call goodies, general utility deck engine. It's kind of like a deckhand. They kind of do a lot of the scut work, a lot of the manual labor, a lot of cleaning on a boat, a lot of painting and shipping. From there, you become an AB, an able seaman, if you go deck route. So I'm just talking about the deck side. So you'll be an able seaman, you have a little more seniority. Those are the guys that actually do a lot of they still do a lot of cleaning and painting, but they also will be the guys that actually handle the wheel, so to drive the ship under the direction of the mate or the captain. And then from there, you have your ABs, bosuns, which are kind of like the deck bosses. So they're like the senior guys that kind of run the show on deck, again, under the direction of the mate. Usually the first or chief mate is kind of the guy they go to, but the mates are also ultimately in charge. So either one of those options can be an option for starting out. If you go the unlicensed route, it can take up to 10 years to get your license. If you choose that route, there's guys spent their entire careers out here. You don't need a license. It's fine. It's still a pretty good living. Our lowest paid person on the boat right now is making about $15 an hour. So with a lot of overtime potential, you work 7 days a week, so you're getting all that overtime anyway. You have benefits, health insurance, life insurance, all kinds of stuff. It's a pretty good career field if that's what you want to do. You do have to realize that you're working on a ship, so it's not a cruise boat. Living conditions are not always the greatest. We don't have stabilizers. The boats get bumpy. Weather gets bad. You're out in all kinds of weather conditions. No matter what the weather's like, you're going to be out in it. Rain, snow, sleet, you name it, you're out in it. We've had negative 40 degrees out here and we're out loading. It can be kind of miserable. Gone for months at a time, especially the unlicensed guys. Some of those guys do like 120 days at a time. Most of the officers will do, I think the max is like 90, and then usually you kind of start going insane by then. So that's kind of the route you can take to get out here. If it's something you're interested in, I love it. I recommend it for people that know what they're getting into, for sure. Because it's like I said, it's not for everybody, but if it sounds like something that you are interested in, it's worth looking into and trying a shot. And there's always work to be done, whether it's on tugboats, ships. You got the oil patch out in the Gulf, oil rigs, things like that. So there's a lot of different routes you can take.